It happened fast, almost too fast. The court doors flung open at exactly 9 a.m. Reporters were already camped outside. Rumors had been swirling for weeks, and now, a ruling, a final one. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Their reign was over. You? Could hear it in the air. Tension. Even the security guards looked uneasy. No one had seen a case quite like this. Two Hollywood powerhouses. Golden couple of the red carpet. But behind the scenes, something darker was at play. Something no one wanted to believe. It started small, whispers, leaks, a strange subpoena here, a private investigator there. But once those sealed documents got unsealed, everything shifted. No more hiding behind smiles and stylists. The truth wanted out, and the judge, she gave it the stage. Ryan arrived first. No sunglasses, no smile. Just a folded document in his hand. Blake came shortly after. Her expression unreadable. But the tightness in her jaw, it spoke louder than words. This wasn't just another tabloid drama. This was the unraveling of something massive, inside the courtroom. The judge wasted no time. This wasn't a performance. This was justice. Attorneys made their final arguments, cold, sharp, devastating. Allegations of manipulation, legal intimidation, abuse of influence, all laid bare. And then silence, heavy silence. The kind that presses down on your chest. Everyone waited. Even the bailiff stood still. Then the judge spoke, her voice calm, but final. The court hereby finds that the extended legal pressure campaign orchestrated by the defendants, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, constitutes a gross misuse of personal privilege and a sustained obstruction of procedural justice. You could hear the gasp, a quiet one. But it echoed. Blake didn't move. Ryan blinked. The court had spoken. Their tactics, their threats, their silence no longer shielded them. Their legal empire was dismantled, right there. In front of everyone, the judge continued, effective immediately. All private investigations launched under their authority are terminated. All gag orders are lifted. And restitution proceedings will begin within 10 days. The courtroom fell into chaos, lawyers on phones, journalists rushing out, cameras being readied. It was happening. Their reign was ending. Outside, protesters had started to gather. Small signs at first, then bigger ones, victims, former staff, ex-associates, people who had been silenced for years. Now they had a voice, one that couldn't be paid off or buried in NDAs. Blake was escorted to her car. Ryan followed. No words were exchanged. Just a shared look. That look, it said it all. It was over. Whatever they built, however high they climbed, the fall had begun, and there was no script this time. No PR plan, no rescue headline. Inside the courthouse, a clerk confirmed it. Number. Appeal had been filed. No motion to delay. They weren't fighting yet. Maybe they knew they couldn't. Maybe the weight of the evidence was too much, or maybe, just maybe, they were tired. By evening, it was everywhere. The headlines, the breaking, news alerts, the podcasts, the commentary. The illusion was gone. And in its place, the truth, the power they held, the fear they spread. It had all come back to them, full circle. Hollywood watched in silence, some in shock, some in secret satisfaction. For years they ruled, with charm, with manipulation, with money, but none of that could stop the gavel. The reign of terror was over, and the world was finally watching. The city didn't sleep that night. News vans lined the streets. Helicopters circled overhead. Every outlet from TMZ to BBC was chasing one thing. What would Blake and Ryan do now? At their gated estate in upstate New York, floodlights stayed on till morning. Security tightened, but the walls that protected them for so long were no longer bulletproof. They had always played the game, controlled the narrative, but this was different. Reporters found their old assistant, a woman named Elise. She was the first to speak, on record. Her face blurred but her voice steady. She said the silence was never voluntary. She had signed papers, been followed, threatened, isolated, all under the name of discretion. She wasn't alone. 3 more came forward by sunrise. A nanny, a driver, an old publicist, each story eerily similar. Gaslighting, surveillance, non-stop legal pressure. Ryan and Blake had buried more than bad press. They buried people, careers, reputations. The internet exploded. Hashtags trended globally. Everyone had an opinion. The golden couple had cracks now. And people were peering in, looking for truth, for revenge. Or maybe just for something real. By the second day, they issued a statement. 4 sentences. Crafted, cold, carefully vague. They denied the characterization, but not the ruling. They expressed disappointment. But no regret, not a word of apology. Not even a whisper of accountability. And that lit the fire. A legal analyst dissected the judge's full opinion, paragraph by paragraph. It wasn't just a slap on the wrist, it was a blueprint. A detailed breakdown of how they had operated for years, using private arbitration, cloaking power plays and contracts, turning the system against the voiceless. Fans were stunned. Not because it wasn't believable, but because it was, perfectly. The mask had slipped, and what was underneath was colder than anyone imagined. Industry insiders began distancing themselves. A studio paused a sequel. A fragrance line wiped their images. Publicists went dark. No more fun couple interviews. No more red carpet flirting. They weren't the brand anymore. They were the scandal. But something else was happening too. Quietly, Blake's legal team started dissolving, one by one. Attorneys recused themselves. Her longtime lawyer issued a public statement. We are no longer representing Ms. Lively due to strategic conflicts. Translation: she was alone now. Ryan's situation was no better. His production company lost 2 sponsors. His creative partner resigned, and an internal audit began. The empire was imploding. Then came the video. Grainy, leaked, probably illegal, but devastating. It showed a behind-the-scenes moment from a photo shoot. Blake screaming at a staffer, Ryan on a call, coldly instructing a PI to take care of the leak. You couldn't see everything, but you didn't need to. You could feel it. It wasn't acting. It was real. The public turned, fully. The tone shifted from curiosity to fury. This wasn't about celebrity gossip anymore. This was about power, abuse, and the system that let it happen for so long. A petition launched to strip Blake of her endorsement deals. Another to halt Ryan's executive privileges on an upcoming streaming series. Both reached hundreds of thousands of signatures within hours. Meanwhile, the judge issued a follow-up, an ethics referral, to both the Bar Association and the State Attorney General, suggesting further investigation, possibly criminal. That word, criminal, it changed everything. By week's end, federal agents were spotted entering a law firm tied to the couple. Files were being taken, warrants unsealed. This wasn't the end, it was the beginning of a new case. And for the first time, Blake and Ryan weren't just facing PR fallout. They were facing justice. Part 2 of their story wasn't a comeback. It was a reckoning. And everyone was watching. Let me know if you want part 3 to go deeper into the federal case, betrayals inside their inner circle, or public reaction aftermath. I can make it as long and twisted as needed. The agents came early, before sunrise. Before the media caught on. Before Blake and Ryan could make a move. Black SUVs. Quiet footsteps, the sound of warrants being read. They didn't resist. There was no scene, just resignation. Blake stood by the doorway, wrapped in a cashmere robe, watching the agents go room to room. Ryan sat at the kitchen island, silent, staring at his phone. They weren't arrested, not yet, but the message was clear. The government wasn't playing by noon. The story had hit every outlet. Federal probe confirmed. Digital devices seized. Financial records under review. Anonymous sources confirmed sealed grand jury proceedings. It wasn't just civil anymore. It was criminal. And then came the biggest shock of all. Someone flipped. A man named Kevin Doyle, Ryan's former head of operations, longtime fixer. The guy who always stayed in the shadows. He was granted limited immunity in exchange for cooperation. He didn't hold back. He told them everything, the surveillance setups, the hush money routed through shell accounts, The manipulation of small press outlets, the lawsuits designed not to win, but to exhaust, to frighten, to erase. Kevin had files, emails, recordings, phone logs, and one message, sent from Blake's phone: "We need this buried." I don't care how, it was about a 2019 incident. One no one outside the inner circle ever heard of, a former employee. Gone missing for 3 days. When she returned, she quit, moved states, changed her name. That woman was now found, and she was ready to talk. Her name was Talia Monroe, a junior stylist, 23 at the time. She came forward through her attorney, and what she said shifted everything. She claimed she was held against her will, not kidnapped, not physically harmed, but isolated, monitored, interrogated by private agents. All because she had seen something on Blake's laptop. Something she wasn't meant to see. She wouldn't say what, not yet. But her testimony was enough. The U.S. Attorney's Office issued a formal statement. An investigative task force had been created. Charges were being considered. Blake and Ryan released a second statement. This one longer, carefully worded. Playing the victims, they denied criminal intent, blamed overzealous staff, claimed they were unaware of certain tactics. But no one was buying it, because Kevin's records showed otherwise. Meetings, authorizations, signed expense reports, all linked back to them. By week 3, it was open season. Former friends distanced themselves publicly. Blake's sister unfollowed her on social media. Ryan's co-star from a major franchise tweeted, "We all ignored. Too much. That's on us." Hollywood was rewriting the narrative. And then, without warning, a leak. A single PDF, over 100 pages, dropped anonymously. It contained internal communications, confidential strategy memos, even psychological profiles of journalists who wrote negatively about them. Blake had approved them, Ryan had used them. It wasn't just damage control, it was warfare. The court reconvened, this time under criminal pretrial hearings. The prosecution painted the couple as orchestrators of a systematic culture of control, a fortress of secrecy, a corporate cult hiding behind charm and money. The defense tried to poke holes. But the damage was done. Then something changed. Blake didn't show up one day. Her lawyers filed for medical leave. Stress-induced hospitalization. Rumors flew. Panic attacks, nervous breakdown, or maybe just strategy. Ryan showed up alone, for the first time. And for the first time, he looked broken, not exhausted, not angry, just lost. The judge issued a final warning. If obstruction or delay continued, bench warrants would be considered, outside the court. Protesters grew louder. Not just fans, but advocates, survivors, whistleblowers. Blake and Ryan had become symbols now, not of celebrity, but of unchecked power. And then the plea deal rumors began. Sources close to the prosecution hinted that Ryan's team had reached out, privately, asking what cooperation would look like. It was a fracture, a possible divide. The couple, once perfectly in sync, might be turning on each other. And if they did, everything would come out. They met in silence, a cold, sterile room beneath the courthouse, no cameras, no lawyers, just the two of them. Blake and Ryan. It was the first time they'd been alone in weeks. No press, no handlers, no publicists whispering lines to remember, just silence. And tension so sharp it could cut through steel. She looked at him like a stranger. He looked at her like a mirror he was tired of seeing. "You did it," she said, her voice quiet. Not angry, not emotional, just final. He didn't deny it. The prosecutors had offered him a narrow window. Cooperation in exchange for immunity from one set of charges. But only if he testified, only if he turned on her. Ryan had said yes. And the betrayal shattered something that had already been cracked. Blake stood, her hands trembling. Not from fear, but fury. The kind of fury that years of control and silence had kept buried. "I carried your secrets. I burned my own name to protect yours. And this is how you thank me. You didn't protect me," he said. "You used me, used all of it." No one spoke after that, because there was nothing left to say. The next morning, Ryan walked into court, alone, Again, but this time, not as a defendant, as a witness. His voice was calm, measured. He told them about the team they hired, the monitoring, the legal threats. He admitted to approving budgets for private intel on journalists, but he claimed Blake was the one who escalated it. She wanted control, total control, he said, every narrative, every post, every whisper. The courtroom froze. Blake sat at the defense table, expressionless, but her foot tapped beneath the table, once, twice, over and over. A rhythm of collapse. The prosecutors laid it all out, a timeline. A digital blueprint of fear. They showed Blake's messages, her edits to statements, her annotations on contracts designed to corner staff, her notes in the margins, cross them, break them, make them sign. It wasn't just aggressive, it was surgical. And then came the moment no one expected. Talia Monroe, the missing stylist, took the stand. She looked straight at Blake, no hesitation, and said it plainly, "You tried to ruin me. You tried to silence me. And now I get to speak." The jury watched her. The room listened to every word, the emotional manipulation, the threats about her family, the way she was gaslit and discredited. And then she handed over the flash drive. It held a video. One from a private retreat, a place the staff called the compound, a secluded property the public never saw. The video showed Blake talking to her inner team. Her tone was confident, cold. Control is the only currency that matters. Fame is just the facade. The courtroom erupted. By the end of the day, the judge called a recess. Blake's legal team was shaken. Ryan had left the building under federal protection, and Blake was alone. That night, she didn't go home. She was spotted at a luxury hotel under a different name, alone. No entourage, no ring, no comment. The next morning, she didn't show up in court. Her lawyer claimed illness. But the judge wasn't having it. A bench warrant was signed. Blake Lively, once untouchable, was now listed as non-compliant. And for the first time, her fans began to question everything. The timeline, the money, the silence. Was any of it ever real, or was it all just control? Let me know when you're ready for part 5, the arrest, media war, or the final confession. We can go full-scale Hollywood collapse or twist it darker. She didn't run, not really. But she didn't come back either. Blake disappeared for 3 days. No one knew where. Not her agents, not her manager, not even her own sister. Her phone was off. Her legal team couldn't reach her. The bench warrant stood. She was now officially a fugitive of the court. The Eid the chance had the media went into a frenzy. Talk shows speculated she'd fled the country. Conspiracy threads lit up Reddit. Private planes were tracked. Old interviews dissected. Footage slowed down frame by frame to catch a blink, a shift, a clue. And then a tip came in. A quiet call, untraceable, from a burner. She's in Vermont. The cabin, the one from the Vogue cover story. Federal agents moved that night. Black snowmobiles under a moonless sky. Silent boots crunching ice. They surrounded the cabin, knocked once, no answer. Knocked again. Then a voice, low, hollow. She's inside. They found her by the fire, wrapped in wool. Staring into flames. She didn't resist. She didn't cry. She didn't speak. She just stood. Hands behind her back and nodded. They cuffed her gently. No struggle, no scene. But outside, the cameras were waiting. She stepped into the spotlight one last time, not in couture, not in control, just a woman undone. The image went viral within minutes, the headline simple. Blake Lively arrested. Back in court, she said nothing. Her attorney entered a plea. Not guilty. The judge didn't blink. Bail was denied. Flight risk, obstruction, federal interest. Ryan didn't come to the hearing. He hadn't spoken publicly since testifying. But insiders claimed he had moved to a secure residence. Under protection, anonymous for now. Rumors whispered of a book, deal, or a documentary. But none of it mattered now. Because something darker was emerging. The flash drive Talia gave up? It wasn't the only one. Another surfaced. From a former assistant. And this one contained audio, dozens of hours. Secret recordings, meetings, voice memos. Phone calls between Blake and her legal team. One recording changed everything. She said the words herself. If I go down, so does he. I built him. I built all of this,